kick off now with a little bit of admin before we get into the main presentation. We'll go to the next slide. Thank you. So we'd like to start with an acknowledgement of country. And in the spirit of reconciliation, Cengage Australia acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Now just a little bit of admin to kick us off, a little bit of housekeeping, make sure everyone knows what's going on. This webinar is being recorded and the slides and the recording will be sent out next week to everyone who registered. So if you missed something, if you're like, I want to reference that again, don't worry, you will get it. If you can please put all your questions in the Q&A throughout and any sort of general comments in the chat. You can see I've put a Jamboard link in the chat. If you could open that now, there'll be some activities later that you can participate in. So you get it open and ready, that'd be great. And as we said, if you attend the full webinar, your complimentary copy of the text will be sent after the book publishes. Remember, these books aren't real yet, but they're almost there, so they'll be published later this year. And if you have any questions at any time, please, you can reach out to us at boss.secondary@cengage.com for any post-event questions. And me and my team will get back to you. Now I'll just introduce our lovely science publisher, Catherine Healy, and she'll take you to the next step.
Thank you, Jess. I'm really delighted to be here today. I want to thank you all again for joining us. I'm really excited about this session because we have one of our authors, Dr. Silvia Rudmann, running this session today. So Sylvia is very modest, but I'm going to embarrass her by saying how good she is. And I just would have seen probably from her bio when the invitation for this event that she's a very, very experienced teacher. She's taught at universities and public high schools in New South Wales for over 20 years. She has a PhD in biology. She's currently at Aurora College, which is a really interesting school. It's a selective virtual school. And she's also one of our lead authors here at Nelson, one of our award-winning series called Investigating Science in Focus. She's been involved in developing syllabus at RMIT Melbourne for their biology foundation course. And she's also in this current series that we are on the point of publishing at the end of this year. She's been our digital consultant for the series and has also written our learning progression framework, which she will be talking about a little bit today. So I think enough from me. Thanks again for joining us, and I'll pass over to Sylvia. Thanks, Sylvia.
Thanks, Catherine. Yeah, no pressure, right, to perform this afternoon. And I'm going to change my camera to the other computer, so it's easier for me to actually look at you when I am. Can you see me now? Right, perfect. So yeah. No pressure, as I said, about my presentation. So today I'm going to explain how we were developing all the framework and how we teach, and we teach science skills, right, in the classroom. So the outline for this presentation is divided into 3 sections. The first one is related to the science skills in the classroom, how we teach it, how are our challenges, and then how we develop the learning progressions of this series of books. And then I will give you some practical examples. I will pass it on later on to Catherine back and to Amanda, our sales representative. Right, so if all of you open the Jamboard, could you please put in the chat if you open it and you can see it? And so thumbs up or something like that. Yeah, all good. So I'm going to share it now. Excellent. I want you to answer that question in the Jamboard. It's the first page in the Jamboard. You can use a sticky note. I'm going to move this in here so you can see it, right? So why do we have to teach scientific skills? I love the first one, to create scientists, not regurgitators. Yes, better understanding of science, yes. Develop the ability to problem solve, excellent. Can you imagine? Oh, someone deletes all of them for some reason. There you go. So skills that allow, better experimentation, show the students know how to follow methods to investigate, the ability to solve problems, excellent. Excellent. So all those things are part as well. Yeah, just a starting point, exactly right. Connection with greater life, exactly. Exactly. Guys, this Jamboard, you can have it with you forever, right? It's a Google Jamboard. You can use it in your classes. I use it all the time, not only because I'm teaching virtually, but when I was teaching face-to-face, I was using it a lot because it's a collaboration tool if you didn't know it before, right? I love when in webinars and things like that, you learn new things. So I'm going to move it away, the power of technology, and then go to my next slide. So you were saying that in your Jamboard, we have to teach scientific skills because they are part of our everyday life. Make sense? When we are cooking, we follow a recipe, we mix ingredients. When we are doing science in the classroom, we follow a procedure and we mix ingredients, right? And we use equipment. The same with cleaning. Imagine the amount of science behind driving a car, right? All the physics behind, all the chemistry behind in the combustion in the engine. When we are reading a blood test, right? All the things behind in reading a blood test. When we are choosing an appliance for our kitchen, right? When we are doing gardening, we apply fertilizer, we don't apply fertilizer, we put these plants at light or not, etc. So we actually use our scientific skills that we gain during our life from kindergarten or before, right? Up to when we are finishing high school. However, we have a lot of challenges. So I'm going to move the Jamboard again. This poor Jamboard will be dizzy up and down all presentation. So on the next page in the Jamboard, could you please in there, page number 2, write your challenges to teach scientific skills in the classroom? What are your challenges that you encounter when you are actually teaching? Perfect. The abilities, excellent. Yes, 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 very good. Fearing failure. Not enough time to do experiments, right? Content driven, exactly. And I will come back to that comment, don't have time to do experiments. Too abstract, yes, availability of time, resources. Yes, yes, too much science understanding to teach. Can you see that this is a common ground, right? Even if you just wrote only one post-it in there and you read all of them, you can see actually that is happening to all of us, because I can grab a pen now and tick all of those post-its and say, yeah, that happened to me. Oh yeah, that happened to me, and that happened to me, and that happened to me, right? So it just, yeah, behavior issues, I know, right? I have great stories actually with behavior issues in in my science lessons over the years. Excellent. Trusting the students, that's another good point there, that they are not going to kill each other with a scalpel, right? Right. Cool. So those challenges are common, right, across all of us. So how do we actually teach it with all those challenges in mind? My way of teaching is teaching science as a story, right? And I'm introducing, yeah, my students are sick of me when I start telling stories because I talk for the entire lesson, right? But anyway, in the Jamboard, in the third page, I want you to observe this picture, right? And you can do this with your students. Observe this picture and write observations. Not going to share the screen yet, so people are not, checking on others. What observations, when you see this picture, what observations, what you can see? A large crab in a small can? Right. Going to share it now. My computer, there you go. Observations. And then after those observations, I want you to do a prediction. What predictions, after you do the observation, what kind of predictions on the other side of the Jamboard can you do? Can you see, right? You have your observations. What are your predictions about it? Very nice. I love it that it got stuck in the thing, which is actually true. Yes. Yes, the crab will find a bigger shell. Yes. That's a great one. The can will hold water and will sing, pull it to GERRIC crab. Yes, there is a lot of litter, right? You assume that there are a lot of litters in there. That's why, and no shells, right? Perfect. Now I want you to move a little bit further in here and create a very simple investigation plan. Don't give me an essay in here, right? 2 or 3 dot points for that investigation plan to investigate those predictions, right? 2 or 3 dot points, how you're going to create an investigation plan coming from that, right? You have that prediction that it says, oh, it will get a bigger shell. How you're going to investigate that? Or is going to, the can is going to sink or whatever. What is going? Good, a survey. Very good. You can present the exactly right using cans as shells. Excellent. Can you see that now we need more time, right? Before it was observation, this is happening, prediction. Oh, yes, I can do that. Now, when you have to plan an investigation or your students have to plan an investigation, quadrature sample, great idea, right? So it takes a little bit more time, right? And the same misconceptions that probably your students are having about an observation like this, we can have it as well, because we as a science teacher, sometimes we are overthinking, right? And we get into the trap of overthinking, planning an investigation or teaching the students the scientific skills. Does that all make sense so far? Great. Okay, have to move a couple of slides that I went ahead a little bit. So that was the inferences and the predictions that you have, and then you briefly plan an investigation. So in that investigations you observe, many of you put aims in there, an hypothesis, and you have to teach your students to do aim and hypothesis writing. You identify variables, right? What you're going to measure as a dependent variable or what you're going to change as an independent variable. Many of you put in there different type of shells, right? Some of you put, quadrats. That is the use of equipment. And then probably you were analyzing safety and ethics. Are you going to drown all those hermit crabs and test different cans, right? How you're going to collect the data. A litter survey is a good one as well. The reliability. So all that scientific processes, we just did it in 4 slides. Obviously, we didn't collect the data yet. We didn't write the discussions and the conclusions, right? But you can see from a very simple picture, we really were halfway through the scientific process. So we tell the story of the hermit crab in the classroom, right? And show the kids a simple picture like this one. You're already teaching the skills, right, to the kids. So in the syllabus of science across the entire country, we have science as a process of inquiry, or what is called in the Australian curriculum science inquiry. And it is a process. Probably when we were studying at university, we were learning the scientific method as a linear thing. But me as a, I was a researcher in my previous life, but for me, it's a process. It's never ending. You finish your one question, and when you're writing a research report, more questions are coming, and you start all over again in this process, from questioning, from planning the investigation, to collecting the data, to evaluating the data, and then communicating that data into a simple report or a peer review, a presentation, etc. It is a process, right? And I have to tell you that when you are a real researcher, this is never ending, right? And it's very difficult to finish a paper because you are constantly asking. So at the end of the day, what is the aim of teaching those skills? First of all, we develop skills for life, as I was telling at the beginning in the first slide. When we're cooking, when we do gardening, when we're reading a blood test, when interpreting data, right? Now with COVID, we have graphs all the time in the TV about it, right? And then those skills has to be demonstrated in the final exam in year 12. So what I do, I map backwards. I said, okay, in year 12, they should be able to do this, and this with scientific skills in the exam. Let's map backwards. What's happening in year 7? What's happening in primary? If you have the opportunity to link with the local primary schools, that they are your feeder schools to your high schools, it's a great way to say to the primary teachers, guys, I want you to be with the kids, to be with these skills when they come to year 7. That is a very difficult thing to do, but just a little bit of networking with them. So keeping that in mind, we wrote the learning progressions for these textbooks. And those learning progressions, and I will give you examples, and clear example, I hope they are clear, examples of how to use it, right? So those progressions are based on the Australian curriculum outcomes and the new Australian curriculum that eventually will come. They are based on the Australian curriculum achievement descriptors, right? Those grades, those descriptors, and they are based in Bloom taxonomy and Solo taxonomy. I highly recommend you, if you are not familiar with Solo taxonomy, to start investigating and doing some PL about it, because it's a very good tool, particularly to mark holistically, right? But that is for a different seminar. Cool. So the purpose of these learning progressions is to guide the allocation of differentiated activities. So those learning progressions are totally editable. So when you see those tables or the graphing that we are going to publish eventually, you can actually edit those ones to differentiate for your class. It is as well to guide the assessment differentiation right? Actually, today I had to differentiate one of the assessments for one of my students. He got COVID in the middle of the exams, can you imagine? And then to help creating some individualized learning path for those kids, you know, that they are maybe on the top of the gifted spectrum or on the other end with disabilities, right? We try to cater for the entire bell curve. So when we start writing this, we decided to have 3 levels of progressions. Level 1, where we call it emerging. So the students are on a level that they just bring to the classroom their previous knowledge, and they just bring, you know, that basic knowledge. That is an emerging level, right? When they just can make an observation, when they just can identify something. Then we move to level 2, when students just can demonstrate more knowledge or application of the knowledge, right? And this level is subdivided into 3 sub-levels, from just developing to consolidating the knowledge and understanding. And then the final level of the learning progression is level 3, that is called established. So that established point is when the students actually can demonstrate that mastery of the concept, they can be extended, they have a very, very good grasp, and not just grasp, a very, very good understanding of the concept so far. No, Josh, I don't think so. We are going to answer that question later on. Thank you for asking, Josh. All right, so the tables look like this, right? So you can see at the emerging, you have just very low Bloom taxonomy verbs, identify, and then it moves up to the next levels, reaching established, to independently distinguish problems. You know, they can justify hypotheses, they can justify data, they can justify conclusions, right? Predictions, and they can evaluate. So they are the higher order level. So you can see in here that it says questioning and predicting. If you remember that circle with the science inquiry that I showed you before, each of those sections in the circle will have a table for this. And it's not only for the science skills that we have the learning progressions, they are as well for the content. Okay, so coming back to our GERRIC graph, right? How those learning progressions can be applied to this story, right? So let's see. We were making predictions, and our predictions, right, were very simple based on observations, right? Because we have very short period of time. So if you give more time to the students and you guide them, you're going to go into the second level where those predictions were more valid based on observations. Why I said more valid? Because they're going to based on actual scientific knowledge. Some of your predictions were based on scientific knowledge. Well, the majority of them actually. But if the kids do not have the background still, right, they are not going to have a valid prediction. And then some of you are as well start evaluating those predictions and putting more extensive scientific knowledge, right? And you can actually map that within the classroom, right? What I do usually, and the students don't realize that I'm actually assessing constantly, and all of you do, for example, as well, right? For me, my classes are a game. They're fun, that we're constantly doing things hands-on, right? And all these skills are embedded in the content. I do not stop my lessons and I said, guys, today we are going to learn about observations. No, this is the content, ecology, for example, with this human impact with the hermit crab, and straight away I just put the skills, writing an observation, writing a prediction, right? And so on. Write an investigation plan. So can you see how you can integrate the skills within the content? So I'm going to show you some interesting web pages. Maybe you know this one. This is one of my favorites. And they added a new interactive. I don't know if you can click on the screen or not, but this is the first link in there. Maybe we'll put it in the chat. Going to copy it and put it in the chat so you can play as I am talking. In this case, this is a very, very interesting web page to teach the kids how to learn the process of science and the skills. So it's extremely interactive, right? You can put it, open it in another tab and make it bigger. You can actually print all these. There are sections in the web page that you can actually print each of these circles. I teach science extension in New South Wales here in year 12 using this one, right? But the most interesting one, going to move it away now, is the second page in there, which is, I lost it, interactive. Did I open it? Probably, yes, here. 20,000 pages open. The second link in there is this one. And for me, it's very valuable because I can tailor this from year 7 to 12, whatever the students need. For example, we were coming back to the hermit crab. You're going to have dreams about hermit crabs today. Right. Coming back to the hermit crab, we were doing observations. So I can create in here a project for my students. Right? And I do it actually. So you put the project name in there, hermit crab, whatever, making observations. You click in here and you can add the instructions for the students. And they just said, okay, maybe I need to explore the literature. So I put another step in there for them. And then let's see if I can write an hypothesis, results. I don't know, then I can say support the hypothesis. So the kids can start writing in here, right? And then in here, you can actually put the instructions for them. And then you can put peer review or discussion. And you can see that in the map, you can follow and you can teach the students, can you see the process of science, right? As you do. Then what's happening with all these as a conclusion? Are we building knowledge? I will solve everyday problems, right? And you can see that it's all color coded. I love color coded. And the students can see in what steps. And then you got the research project, right? The major research project for your class. They can print it, they can download it, you can mark it, right? Very, very, very useful web page. I'm going to put the link of this one as well in here in the chat. So you can actually have it for you later on and you can play. Probably many of you are doing major research projects in year in stage 4 or 5, even for, the depth studies or things like that in year 11 and 12. Right, keep moving. So another example with these learning progressions that was related with observations. What's happening when we are going to collect data or collect measurements? Again, an emerging level, the students are just simply collecting measurements, measuring things. In level 2 in the learning progression, those actual measurements becomes data, right? And we are going to describe patterns and trends with that data. And then when in level 3, they can actually summarize and represent relevant data and explain those patterns and trends, gives that cause and effect, right? So all this is there for you to use it and adapt it to your own classrooms. So for the collection of data, I'm not sure in general specific syllabi for each of the states in Australia. With the Australian curriculum, there is one that the students has to use digital resources to collect data. And with the COVID and things like that, I think the majority of us becomes really techie, savvy to use them. These are the ones that they are very, I got a spelling mistake, very good. They are ones that are used all the time. And I'm going to show you 3 of them, how you can adapt it with those learning progressions that I show you to collect data. The first one is a virtual lab related to evolution, mutations, and natural selection. I don't know if you see this one before or not. These are all free, right? That's very important. So in here, you have a fish pond, right? Koi fish. And the students can, obviously, this is year 10, 11, 12 level, but anyway, many of them are not going to be very familiar in how to interpret data of this level. So you can manipulate the actual size of the population, etc., the alleles, right? The dominant and recessive alleles. And when you are very happy with all, I'm just going to put something that doesn't make sense, but anyway, you run the put a little bit of this one, or oh, it's not moving for you. Yeah, it's moving for all of you too. So the sex ratio, more boys and girls, etc., and then you run it. Yeah, it looks pretty, mesmerizing, actually. Moving all those fish, relaxing, right? But if you click to data, as the population is changing, as those alleles are transferred to the next generation, right? Kids can see the graph and you can stop and you can explain. So from a simple measuring data, right? They go to describe the data, what's going on, and then they can explain those patterns and trends related to genetics. So virtual biology lab has a lot of these kind of experiments that they are very visual, and the students got the graphs in front of them to explain. So the next one that I got is the Chem for Kids, because data is not only doing pretty things, but we need the literacy as well in science, right? So I use this one, Chem for Kids. This is for low ability kids. And I don't know if you came across to these ones. Love the ads, right? So kids, the reading is very straightforward with simple scientific literacy without compromising meta language. So the kids can read. What activity that I do, I said to the kids, read this page about it. They can click on all different elements, etc. We discuss all these, we play games, and then they can take a quiz, right? So in this case, the literacy in science is coming from a web page, and we all use web pages, right? But in a simple way. So those learning progressions are going to help you as well to select the pages that they are going to be actually suitable for the level that your students are in. And the last one that I'm going to show you for collection of data is FED Colorado. We are very good fans of FED Colorado, right? I highly recommend you to actually become members of this. It's free. You can donate as a faculty or you can donate individually, because for every single of these FED Colorados, you have teaching resources if you become a member. And in here, these are all the wonderful people around the world that create worksheets for, and in different languages as well, worksheets for you, right, that you can use in the classroom, and activity after activity after activity using the same one. So I use it a lot as well. And again, this is a different one to collect data, right, for physics in this case. And many of you mentioned before, you do not have sometimes the equipment to do it. So these virtual simulations are excellent tools for you to teach the skills. But again, don't think that you have to actually stop the content to teach the skills. Embed the content. Embed the skill in the content, as we did in this series of textbooks now. All those textbooks, and they're going to, Catherine and Amanda are going to talk more about it. All those skills are embedded within the textbook and across the actual chapter related to physics or bio or chemistry, etc. So, and I just put this one in here very quick because writing skills are extremely important in science. These are the two main pedagogies that I use to teach writing skills. One is the TXXC, maybe you already know, and CUBE as well, when I give them a text or when I give them an extended response with a lot of stimulus and a lot of information. So just a little bit of background in there on writing scientific skills. The kids in my classes know, said, Miss, we are doing TXXC today, or we are doing CUBE, or we are doing both, right? And I start teaching this in year 7, right? And I start teaching the meta language in year 7, right? Many Silvia across the state, they say, no, you cannot teach the name of variables in up to year 9, or you cannot teach, you know, this up to year 10. Well, I had to tell you that I'm a little bit naughty, but I do. Kids are not stupid. Kids can follow. If you start the meta language slowly in year 7 with the skills, the type of variables, the results, data analysis, all those type of words, you know, when you are teaching ERA, all that in year 7, you are not going to teach it in year 12, right? But it has to be consistent, right? Across all the classes. I lost my mouse, there it is. Right, okay, so we are going to answer questions at the end. So keep writing the questions in the question and answer panel there. And we are going to move now to Catherine.
Thank you so much, Silvia. So I'm gonna be really brief here. I just want to kind of jump on the back of what Silvia was saying and talking through just really briefly on how we have, I guess, done some of this work for you by embedding the science skills and how we've approached that, kind of our philosophy and from a very tangible, practical way, how we've really done the hard work to get these science skills embedded in a very consistent developmental way across the series. So we've done it, I guess I like to think of it as the trilogy. I like Star Wars, so I like to talk about trilogies, the Star Wars trilogy, the science skills trilogy. And the starting point is, we call it science skills in focus. So what we have done, we have used these learning progression frameworks that Silvia has been showing you and giving examples of. And we have basically mapped out the science skills across year 7 to 10. And every chapter in every book has what we call a science skills in focus. So, and the idea is, as you will see in that, the screenshot I've got there, this is just of one of our pages from our year 8 book. And we've just, here the skill is evaluating an investigation. So we kind of name it, we're very explicit and we name the skill. And then we kind of give them a lot of scaffolding explanation on what we actually mean by that skill and how they can do that thing. And in the investigation itself that follows, the idea is they put that skill directly into practice. So that's number 1 in our trilogy. Number 2 is what we're calling science skills in a minute. So it's that same skill which we present in a different way. So we've got it in the textbook, and then we have a really short, snappy animation. So these animations are 1 minute to 90 seconds. They can be used, you can use it as a real teaching moment with your students, or it could be something that you send for a student to watch on their own. And the scripts are really engaging, really fun. And the idea is that it's talking about that particular skill in a context that's going to make sense to them. So it's in a like a real world context that the students can relate to. And then the third part of the trilogy is science skills in practice. So you see skills, skills, skills. And the idea is that this is a bit, I like to describe it as a digital workbook, but it's essentially, this is on a part of our digital offering, which Amanda will be talking about a little bit more in a moment. But basically in this, they get to actually practice with some questions, some activities, the skill that we've introduced. So we've introduced it in the textbook. We have the animation. They get to practice it in the investigation itself. And then they've got these very explicit activities where they get to practice that skill. And that's kind of our trilogy. And, you know, all up, it's like a package of work. Again, how you choose to teach it, the flexibility is there for you, but you can, it's in the embedding has been done. And that's, you know, I think going back to what Silvia was saying. That's enough for me. No, actually, it's not enough for me. There's one more thing that, just to be very clear, which I think I have already alluded to, is that these three, I guess, packages of content that relate to science skills all go back, are all underpinned, are all based on this learning progression, which is an editable teacher resource that you can use in like in all the ways that Silvia explained. And I'm going to hand over to Amanda.
Thanks, Catherine. Hi, I'm Amanda, one of the learning consultants here at Nelson. So next slide, please. As you can see from our infinity diagram, Nelson MindTap is an online learning space that puts you, the teacher, and the student at the centre, and this is our mission. Nelson MindTap is an online learning space where teachers and students access rich content and assignments in a simple, integrated user experience. Content includes digital e-text enriched with multimedia activities and a variety of assessment with real-time gradebook and usage analytics for students and teachers, scaffolded, open-ended investigations and differentiated formative assessment to cater for all levels and abilities. Our amazing Twig videos and FET interactives that can all be accessed anywhere at any time, as Catherine mentioned. Features such as LMS integration, customisable learning paths, adjustable reading levels and read speaker will drive transformative learning experiences. All of this is designed to engage your students and save you time in preparation. Next slide. Nelson Science's learning progression framework underpins the differentiated content, activities and assessment. It's an editable resource that can be used as a template to create your own teaching plans and rubrics to build the right path for your students. The learning segments are in chunks that are inviting to students. Next slide. Create your own course based on the school's topic selection, sequence and priorities. You can customise to how you'd like to teach the course. As a teacher, you can customise the course by changing the sequence of the module segments. You have the ability to hide content and reveal it when you're ready to teach it. You can add in links of your own content and arrange it within the learning pathway. And then when you're ready, you can publish your course. This allows you to create a personalised learner's journey based on your students' needs. Next slide. This is also another great feature in the student-facing e-text. You can see there is the grade level and the modified text level. This means the e-text can be viewed by a student at a grammatically simplified version while still providing a high level of content. Next slide. Modified text also enhances the understanding. We also have the read speaker text-to-speech technology, both of which cater for the differentiated needs of our students, along with the keyword definitions in the right place throughout the text. Next slide. This is also another powerful feature of Nelson MindTap. It's the grade book. We offer pre and post section quizzes that provide formative assessment opportunities you can assign to your students as classwork or as homework. Differentiated instruction by creating groups and assigning assignments to the whole class, to a group, or to an individual student. With full admin access as the teacher, you can access your classes where you can easily create and edit your groups. You can grade any non-marking auto assessment and sync it to your LMS. You can also filter your dashboard results, your grades, and you can override marks and export the results to a CSV to use later. Assessments feed into the gradebook with real-time usage and analytics. Students can track their own progress and learning with immediate feedback on the quizzes. Next page. These are just to show you what our amazing covers look like. So these are our Queensland titles. Next slide. And our WA titles. They're gorgeous looking books. Next slide, please. Just a little bit about pricing and availability. So year 7 and 8 for both Queensland and WA will be available by the end of this year, by 2022. A printed textbook is $69.95, and if you prefer just the digital only option, it's $39.95. Obviously, our year 9 and 10 books will follow in 2023. Also, our with Nelson MindTap courseware, the access for teachers is complimentary when a school purchases a class set or booklists the text or purchase the Nelson MindTap digital offering as the core text in the subject. When you adopt the course, we work closely with you to set up the course for the teacher, and then the teacher can invite the students to the course using the course key. We also offer full teacher training, and we would be happy to arrange this well before the student books are actually out, so to assist schools with preparation for next year. Next slide, please. If you'd like to participate in a 30-day trial for Nelson MindTap, please use the link below, the oz.secondary@cengage.com, to let us know if you are interested in a trial. We also are offering uncorrected page proofs. If you've not already seen them, please make contact so we can send you those via digital. And also, if you'd just like a demo, our learning consultants are more than happy to arrange a demo, whether it be face-to-face or virtual. So please do make contact and reach out. I'd just like to say thank you to everyone here for taking the time to listen to about our amazing resources. And if you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you right now. So I'll hand over to the girls for questions.
Thanks, Amanda. So we have one question from earlier from Josh, but if anyone else has a question, now's a great time. Get it in the Q&A for us and we'll go through. So Josh asked, are there progressions in line with the C grade judging standards from the SCSA?
No, I don't. I'm not familiar with that. We based all our progressions and all the pedagogies in the textbooks based on the ACARA Australian curriculum.
Okay, thanks, Silvia. Does anyone else have any other questions? Last call. Thank you. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for your question. So reaching out to Amanda or Marguerite or the sales team. So if you just want to reach out to that os.secondary email, is the greatest way to get the things you want, or you can also go to the website. I'll share the website in the chat shortly. Josh has asked if a physical copy is purchased secondhand, is the secondhand purchase able to use the digital code, or do they have to purchase a reactivation code for Nelson MindTap? Amanda, is it okay if I throw to you for this one?
Yeah. There is no recharge and there is no codes. So the Nelson MindTap is only accessible to schools that purchase a class set. So if you purchase just one single copy of the student book as a reference book, you don't get access to Nelson MindTap. Nelson MindTap is for schools that adopt as a class set or purchase that digital code. So if you purchased a book secondhand, you would just have the printed book.
Thank you for that. Okay, let's just check one last check. Does anyone else have any more questions? Josh says thank you, Amanda.
Jess, there were some questions in the chat about senior books, about MindTap. So
what senior books have MindTap? None yet. Let's put that. Nelson MindTap is brand new this year. So any books moving forward, and we will of course look at other books we have in the future, but yeah, the senior books don't have it yet. Has anyone else seen any more questions in the chat that I might have missed? Are we all good? We will send out more information about the series with the recording. So if you've missed a link or you're like, I really want a trial or page proofs, you'll get an email in the next couple of days. It'll have everything you need in it. So if that's all the questions we have, I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who attended, to our panelists Silvia and Catherine and Amanda for their presentations. Yeah, thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a lovely evening.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me.